Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to Vanland. So it has now been about 1 year since we originally introduced the Ecoflow Power Kits to you guys. And in that time, we've sold hundreds and hundreds of these. We've also installed a bunch of them in our own builds. So now it's time to give you guys my 1 year review of the Ecoflow Power Kits and help you decide if this is the right kit for your build. In today's video, we're going to go over what we love about the Ecoflow Power Kits, some of the issues we have seen in the past year, and also go through a Q&A so we can answer your guys' most common questions. So let's start out by addressing some of the issues that we have seen with the Power Kits, because I know that's why a lot of you are here. You want to see if this is a reliable power kit that's going to work for you before you spend $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 on a power system. Overall, I would say that the issues we have seen with the power kits are very minimal. I tried to do a quick calculation and figure out how many warranty replacements we've done, and it's actually been less than 1% of the kits that we have sold have needed any sort of warranty repair or replacement, which I consider to be a very good track record for a new product line. So we handle technical support if you buy one of the power kits from us, so you can call us directly, and we do get calls pretty often regarding the power kit and helping people understand how it works and resolving their issues. Most of the time, any issues that people have experienced can be resolved with a firmware update. So the first question I always ask is, have you updated the firmware recently? If not, then I ask the customer to do that. And oftentimes I never hear back from them again, which means that it resolved their problem. If a firmware update does not resolve the problem, then we have to take the next step and figure out which piece of equipment may be faulty. We've only ever had to replace a couple batteries and a couple power hubs in the hundreds and hundreds of kits that we've sold. So in terms of the battery, the most common problem is that the battery does not seem to hold a charge. A customer will install the kit, charge it up to, let's say, 80%, and then they come back the next day and it's at 50%, and they really haven't been using any power in the van. Obviously, that's a problem, and whether it's actually just the calculation that the battery and the power hub are running on battery charge or an actual dissipating battery, either way, it's not a good sign, and you want to make sure that your batteries are holding a charge. So a couple times we have sent out new batteries. They were quickly installed in the kit and then it was resolved. In a couple situations, we have had to replace power hubs. So the power hub houses the inverter, the charger, the controllers, and a lot of the electronics that allow the whole system to run together. And sometimes we've seen where it does not appear that the power hub is charging, either from the solar or alternator or shore power. One way or another, it's not charging. And again, if a firmware update has been completed and it's still not working, then we just generally replace the power hub. It's pretty easy to do because everything is plug and play. You can just unplug everything, put a new unit on the wall, plug it back in, and it should be working. We've never seen the inverters go bad on these, or the AC output in general has always been very reliable, which is a good sign, but on occasion, again, the chargers didn't seem to be working correctly, so we had to replace it. In all of the kits we've sold, we've had to only replace one of the touchscreen displays. It just wasn't working properly, not sure exactly what was wrong with it, but again, quite easy to replace. You just pull it off of the mount, pull out the cable, put the new one on, and hopefully be back up and running. We have never had to replace one of the distribution panels, and this is one of my favorite parts of the kits. When you're wiring up your van, to have a distribution panel that you can control via your phone and have all of the power coming to one location. This is just a really nice piece of equipment, and it's been rock solid. Never had to replace one of these yet. Early on, I would say in the first couple months we started selling the kits, there was an issue where the solar panels were not charging via the power hub. It turns out it wasn't a power hub problem, but for some reason during manufacturing, the positive and negative wires got switched on the cables that run up to the solar panels. And when you plugged it in, it just didn't charge at all because it was seeing reverse polarity. So it appears that that issue has been resolved months and months ago. We haven't seen any issues with it since, but that was just one other issue that we did see in the past year. Before shooting the video, we actually went to the forums and tried to look for more issues that we hadn't seen but other people had. And it turns out there are no other consistent issues with the Power Hub in all of the forums that we could find. We did hear some people talking about the solar input, which goes into the Power Hub, working its way loose after it had been installed and even potentially popping out. These were kits that were sold in Australia, so I don't know if it applied to the US market, but overall, no major problems with the power kits in all of the research that we did. The next two items I'm going to talk about are not necessarily warranty issues, but they are two things that we wanted to make sure you guys knew about if you're considering one of these kits. The first one is the power input and output capabilities of the Power Hub. So it has a very generous 3600 watt inverter, which is better than most power systems, other power systems that you'll find. But the charging input from the alternator is limited to about 1000 watts. There are reasons why Ecoflow did this, specifically because they're including all of the cabling to go up to the alternator, and they don't want you pulling too much power from the alternator for a variety of reasons. But I think a lot of people wish that there was a higher charging capacity via the alternator for the Power Hub. The second is the DC output to the distribution panel. So from the Power Hub to the distribution panel, it is limited to 30 amp output at 12 volts. And I think a lot of people wish that that was higher. Again, they do it for a reason based on the cable sizing and the fuse sizing. But what that means is that you can't run some higher amperage devices with the power kit at 30 amps. The most common example is an air conditioner. A lot of them draw 50, 70, or 100 amps. So running it from the Power Hub through the distribution panel to an air conditioner, it simply does not work. Now, there is a workaround for that, which is using a 48 volt air conditioner with the Power Hub. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. But just in general, the 30 amp output to the distribution panel is probably a little bit on the low side. And the last issue that I wanted to talk to you guys about is the Power Hub and the noise that it makes. So it's a bit noisier than most people expect, especially when you're either charging quickly or discharging quickly. The fans on the Power Hub are going to turn on, and they are quite noticeable and quite loud. So I would say, taking that into account, you might want to install this in a cabinet that is soundproofed. You do need to have good ventilation in and out of the cabinet, so you can't totally lock this into like a sound tight space. But if you're designing around the system, then I would take into consideration the noise that it's going to create. And just to give you an example, when you first receive your power kit, you might just set it up on the table like this and get it charging from a wall outlet, and you'll hear how loud it is, and then you can know before you put it in your van what to expect. Now let's talk about the things that we love about the power kit and why our customers love them so much as well. I think for me, the biggest thing is that the power kit comes with a 5-year warranty. So that's fully half to a third of the total lifespan of this kit is going to be under warranty. So it is a bit newer than some other equipment on the market, even though now it has been around for a while. So initially people were wondering, is it going to be quality equipment? What if something goes wrong? With the 5-year warranty, you can pretty much rest assured that you're going to have a solid working kit in your van. One note on the warranty is that we have never had Ecoflow deny one of our warranty claims, which says a lot about them. So in the few circumstances where we had to file a claim, we just fill out the paperwork, we're able to get a replacement piece of equipment, and then life goes on. So it's really nice to know that there's a warranty, but also that the warranty is granted if something is actually wrong with the kit. The number one selling point of the power kit continues to be how simple it is to put together. There is no easier way to put a power system in your van. There's no faster way, and it's not even close. So I would say to this day, it takes about 1/10 of the time to cut your own wires and do all of the crimping and build out a custom power system as it does to put in the Ecoflow Power Kit. And that's hard to argue with. Building a van is hard enough. If you can simplify one of the more complex parts of the build by getting a power kit, it's just going to make everything go that much faster. Something that I think people don't think about, but I certainly do, is the fact that a catastrophic failure with a power kit is orders of magnitude less likely to happen than with a custom-built power system. Just simply the fact that all of the cables are done in a factory, all of the wiring is pre-sized and made to fit together, means that something going wrong, like a short or a battery charge issue or a BMS failure, is so much less likely to happen. You actually have a much safer system in your van, and to me, that means a lot. Something that I've commonly seen is people trying to pair good quality electrical equipment like a Victron charger or inverter with cheap batteries because they feel like they can build a high quality system and get the same performance with a cheap battery. But in my opinion, that's a mistake. You don't want to use cheap lithium batteries in your van build. I know it's tempting because an amp hour is an amp hour, right? But if you take equipment that's high quality and pair it with low quality equipment, especially if everything is not working perfectly, you can run into issues. Trust me, I've seen them. Bad things can happen with batteries if the system isn't put together appropriately. That's why Ecoflow Power Kits make a lot of sense, because it's one engineering team putting all of this equipment together, and a lot of the fail-safes are in place so that you have the safest system possible in your van. Another thing that we love about the Ecoflow Power Kits is that you can now pair them with a 48-volt air conditioner. So this has become extremely popular simply because you don't need to go through the distribution panel. You can connect directly to the power hub, straight to the air conditioner, and get 48 volts. So that's very efficient. The wire size is small, and just overall, it's a very slick way to add an air conditioner to the power kit. The way that you do that right now is that the power hub has 3 different ports for 3 batteries that can be plugged into this. But you use one of those ports with a connection to the air conditioner, and the other 2 ports are available for batteries. So that's the current configuration, but I'll just let you guys know there are some things coming in the pipeline with Ecoflow. This is another thing we love about them. They continue to innovate. So in the near future, you're going to be able to add more than 2 batteries and an air conditioner to the power hub. They're going to do this through an extension cable. It's not available now, so we don't have any specific information on it, but I've spoken with Ecoflow and they are in development, and we expect this upgrade soon. Another thing coming from Ecoflow, again, no specific details on it yet, but definitely stay tuned for when it becomes available, is that the input and output power on the power hub are going to be increased. They've already made some firmware updates that allowed more alternator charging coming from the alternator. In the future, there is going to be cable size upgrades and some other firmware updates that are going to allow you to charge and discharge even faster. So obviously subscribe to the channel. When those become available, we will share them with you guys. Let's now jump into my advice. If you do buy a power kit, there are some things that I highly recommend that you do right away to make sure you get the full performance and the full warranty out of it. The first one is to register it. So you do get a 5-year warranty, but only if you register the warranty. You can do that via the display or the phone app. So if you get a power kit and you're not going to install it for several months into your vehicle, it's still worth putting it out on the table, connecting everything together. It really doesn't take that long. Firing it up and then connecting to the kit with your phone and registering the warranty. So from that point forward, you are guaranteed to have a working power kit. The second is to program your power kit. So even though the factory settings might work, there are some specific settings. We did a whole video about how to program your Ecoflow Power Kit. So if you want to go through the step-by-step with us, just watch that video. But if you don't program it correctly, it will not work correctly. There's also some features in there that you'll want to know about before you run into an emergency situation, such as how to jumpstart your vehicle's battery with the power kit. So watch that video and it goes through all of it step by step. The next thing that I recommend is do not let your batteries go below 5%. So one of the benefits of a lithium battery is that you can drain most of the power out of it and still get the voltage you need to run your equipment. But if you take it below 5%, then the charging capacity of it is greatly reduced, and it may not even charge at all unless you're plugged into shore power. So there's a setting on the display that allows you to set the minimum discharge level for the batteries, which I would usually set around 10%. But just be aware, especially if it's sitting for a long time or you're not paying attention to it, that you have those settings in place so the batteries don't go below 5%. The last piece of advice is to order your van with a 250 amp alternator if available. Actually, most of the new Sprinters are coming with either a 250 or a 280 amp alternator. This is high output. So your power kit is going to be drawing about 70 amps. Your starter battery may draw another 20 or 30 amps, and then your battery also has to run everything else that is part of the vehicle's electrical system. So if you get the 250 amp alternator with your van, you can leave the charge rate maxed out on the power kit all the time and not worry about getting your alternator too hot or burning it out. So check your specs, get a higher output alternator from the factory, and then you don't necessarily need to add a secondary alternator to charge this kit at full capacity. So now let's jump into the Q&A. We gathered your guys' most common questions, and so let's jump in and answer them now. So is Ecoflow worth the price? If you take into consideration the quality of the equipment, the 5-year warranty, and then the ease of installation, even though it has a pretty hefty price tag on the front end, I actually don't think that there's any way you can build a quality power system cheaper than with the Ecoflow Power Kit. Again, you may be able to find cheaper batteries or a cheaper inverter, but you're going to be wiring it all yourself, and you're going to spend a lot of time doing research, figuring things out, troubleshooting, and trying to get it to work together. So depending on how much you value your time at, I think the Ecoflow Power Kit is actually one of the best values on the market. Yes, you can definitely install this kit yourself. That's one of the main benefits. Of course, if you have a builder that's building your van, it's going to cost them a whole lot less to install it, so that costs you less. But if you wanted to install this yourself, it's really quite easy. Most people could have this installed easily within a day, and most of the time spent is actually just figuring out where the battery and the power hub are going to be mounted. If we were to just pull out all the equipment and set it up on the table, it goes together in less than 10 minutes, which is pretty amazing considering where we've come from. Are Ecoflow Power Kits compatible with your current system? I would say you can retrofit your van build or your other vehicle build with a power kit fairly easily. You want to basically take all of the appliances and find out where they're wired to and replace it with this power distribution panel. And then the rest of the equipment just plugs into it. So yes, you can use the power kit as an upgrade, but I would say you don't want to mix and match it with other equipment. So if you want to buy all of this but put in a less expensive battery, I don't recommend that. Just because these are designed to work together. You're going to lose a lot of information and a lot of control over the system. Maybe the power distribution panel would be the one thing that you could replace if you have a different brand that you like to use. But again, this connects to the console and to the power hub. You're actually able to turn on and off your DC circuits directly from the power console or from your phone. And if you replace it with a different brand, you're going to lose all that functionality. So it's best to just buy it and use it all together. You can use any solar panels with the Ecoflow Power Kit, and even better, you can use 12, 24, or 48 volt panels in any configuration. The power hub does not care. It will take in the power, whatever voltage you're giving it to it, as long as it's above 12 volts or 14 volts, and convert it to the 48 volts it needs to power and charge the battery. So yeah, any solar panels will work with the power kit. You can use your own generator as well. There is a smart generator attachment here. So if you buy the Ecoflow smart generator, you're going to get some additional functionality. But if you already have a generator in your vehicle or at your home or wherever, you can plug it into the AC input on here, and it will just see it as incoming power and charge the battery or pass the power through to your AC appliances. So yeah, any generator will work. The power kits are very reliable, but you would know if something's not working. It's very useful to keep an eye on the display to see When you're in the sun, are you charging? When you're driving, are you charging? When you're running equipment, how much power is it actually pulling? Essentially to familiarize yourself with the numbers and how the power kit works, so that you can get a sense of if everything is working properly. So one common scenario might be, you're out on a trip, you need kind of maximum charging because you're using power every day, maybe you're even running your air conditioner. You would want to know when you're driving that you're getting 1,000 watts or something like that back into the system. You can look at it on the display, but what I typically do is I just have my phone pulled up with the Ecoflow app, and as you're driving, you can just see right there in front of you how much power you're gaining from the system. Another scenario might be like you're about to shut down your van for a week, you're not going to use it, but you want to keep your refrigerator running, something like that where the power system needs to be off, but you also want to have a few things powered up. It's really easy with this kit to control that and only distribute power to certain appliances. But obviously, if your battery's not holding a charge or your chargers are not charging, then you have a problem and you should give us a call and we can figure it out. So the maximum battery capacity per hub is 15 kilowatts. So that's 3 of these 5 kilowatt batteries. Again, if you plug in an air conditioner to this, you're going to lose one of the battery ports, reducing it to 10 kilowatt hours. But very soon in the future, this won't be an issue anymore. Like I said, there will be an option to add additional batteries to the power hub via an extension cable. So at that point, you'd easily be able to do 20 or 25 kilowatt hours, which is more than enough. .48 volt systems are becoming more and more popular. They are safe to use when they're in this configuration, meaning everything is designed together and all of the cabling is done with the proper wire sizes and the proper sheathing. A 48 volt system that you do yourself, unless you really know what you're doing, it's more dangerous than a 12 or 24 volts. As the voltage goes higher, there's more of a risk of electrocution or sparking and burning things. So I would say, yes, it is safe as long as the system is either designed properly or it comes in a pre-designed kit like this. The power kit console is powered just right through this RJ45 cable. So you can just install this anywhere in the vehicle and run the cable from here to the distribution panel, and it powers up quite easily. This is a really good question. Extreme temperatures on the cold and hot end of the spectrum can cause some problems with any power system, not just the Ecoflow Power Kit. So the first one, when lithium batteries get too cold, they'll shut off automatically because you should not charge an Ecoflow battery or any lithium iron phosphate battery when it is too cold. And too cold is generally around the freezing temperature, so 32 degrees or 30 degrees, somewhere in that neighborhood. Fortunately, the Ecoflow Power Kit batteries do come with internal heaters. So you have to turn them on manually via your Power Kit console when temperatures get low. They don't turn on automatically, but if you're driving around and you're in some cold temperatures, a lot of times the batteries are located on the floor, maybe next to the wheel well, and it can get quite cold in those spots. So turn on the battery warmers and you'll be able to use it pretty much at any temperature going down below zero. On the high end of the spectrum, extreme heat can cause an issue with electrical equipment, specifically the power hub. This is the one part of the kit that actually generates heat. So whether it's discharging or charging, if you're at the extremes, this can create quite a bit of heat. So I would say the key is to keep it well ventilated. So oftentimes we'll put these in a cabinet with vent holes, but if there's not a lot of air exchange in there, like if it's in a tight cabinet, we'll also put fans that essentially you flip on when it gets hot, and it will bring in fresh air into that cabinet and blow out the hot air. So under extreme conditions, you might see this shut down to high temperatures, but it's not something that's very common if you ventilate it well. Ventilation requirements on the power hub are 4 inches above and below the units. Generally, you do want to mount this in this vertical orientation, just because it allows the heat to move up as the fans blow. You can also mount it in other orientations. It's no problem, but you just want to make sure that there's adequate space for air to flow on both sides of the power hub, just the bottom and the top as it's shown here. So the maximum charging input on the power hub, there's different ways to charge it. So it charges via solar panels, alternator, generator, shore power, and they have different charging rates, but generally what most people are concerned with is how fast it charges from DC power. So as I mentioned, you get 1,000 watts from your alternator. You can also have solar panels running at the same time at another 600 watts, so about 1,600 watts of charging on the DC side. On the AC side, when you're plugged into shore power or into a generator, it will push up above 2,500 to 3,000 watts of charging, which is about equivalent to what the AC output is on this device. So while there are systems that charge faster, I think all in all, it's sufficient charging for most people's applications, as long as they're driving a little bit every day while they're using their power system, or they have solar panel in place, or they're able to plug in occasionally to shore power to top up the batteries. You should not mix 2 kilowatt and 5 kilowatt battery packs into the same power hub. Just due to how the batteries charge and discharge, you'll have imbalances and it's just not recommended. I think it probably would void your warranty as well, so stick with either 2 kilowatt or 5 kilowatt batteries and then just buy as many as you need. So if you're looking for a kit that is high quality at a reasonable price, it's not cheap, but it's definitely affordable for a power system, then this is still the way to go. And it's why we recommend the Power Kit to about 80% of the people that we work with. If you guys have other questions, I want to hear them, so please leave them in the comments. We'll answer them in the comments or in another video if you want to know anything else about the Power Kits. And if you've watched this long, then you get a bonus. We have a discount code in the description for Ecoflow Power Kit, so if you want to buy one of these, you can save some money by getting the code and entering it on the website. And of course, like I said, we fully support these systems. One of the things that's known about Ecoflow is they do not have the best technical or customer service support for their power kits, but don't worry about it. You don't have to deal with them at all. We'll take care of it. So that's it, guys. Ecoflow Power Kits after 1 year. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.